Welcome to the PaynePoints Podcast. We tell the stories of small businesses, the people that run them, and the journey they are on. Our purpose is to gather a new perspective on starting, growing, maturing, and maintaining businesses of all sizes. So grab that cup of coffee, sit back, and join us as we start the conversation.
Hello and welcome to the PaynePoints Podcast. I'm your host today, Megan Harbuck. Sarah could not make it today, but I'm here with my co-host, Ben Harbuck.
Hey guys.
And our guest today is Damon Johnson of DJ Realty Solutions. Damon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
It's Damon. Everybody gets one. It's okay. No. I've been called David.
David?
Yeah, people when I order from the coffee place, they go, order for David. I'm like, it's me.
Wait, that's not even the same letters. At least I had the same letters.
Yeah, that's why I said that's why I smiled. You were fine. People just it's a thing. I have one of those names.
I think it's a PaynePoints tradition at this point that we mess up somebody's name at least once during
Right.
the podcast. So I've already continued that tradition.
I goof at least. It's 60 seconds and a minute, at least 30 seconds of every minute. I goof. So are you kidding me? I feel like I'm part of your family now. So
perfect. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself then.
My name is Damon Johnson. I am a realtor. I call myself a fan of social media. I love social media. It's been like a great journey for me so far. I'm still learning it. I manage a few of my clients' social media pages, which is in itself a thing. I learned from that too. I have my own podcast called Open House that I did not want to do at first, but I got talked into kind of doing it. It spun off into a Wine Wednesday show that I didn't want to do, but I always say no first and stuff, and then I end up falling in love with it. So I will do Wine Wednesday every week. I try to do an open house at least once a week. So trying to stay really busy doing all that thing that's going on. I've been in real estate about 6-7 years now. Before real estate, I worked at a mortgage company. And before the mortgage company, I was a school teacher.
Okay.
I'm a little older than everybody. I was a school teacher for like 15 to 17 years. Those years went by really fast.
Wow.
And we were a victim of the mass layoffs at that time.
Okay.
And so I got thrust into mortgages because one of my good friends owned the mortgage company, and he's like, "Oh, Damon, you'll be great at this." And I was like, "I don't know how this is going to work." I ended up falling in love with it, and I always liked real estate. And I just went and got my real estate license, and fell in love with social media along the way, and listened to I'll tell a short story about that. My first assistant and I worked at the mortgage company, and I had never had an assistant before, and I probably was a mean person. And he was like, "Damon, you need to listen to this guy. He's great." And I was like, "Who is this guy?" Whatever. It was Gary Vee. So I watched my first Gary Vee video, and I was like,
okay.
I was at my corporate job, like, I quit. This is my first.
I love it.
I was like, he's like, "You can't quit right now. We don't have any clients." So I just stayed and did a ton of research, and I'm probably the number one Gary Vee fan. They probably have a picture on their wall. This boy is a stalker. Avoid him at all costs. But yeah, I just have taken everything he's ever told me, the times that I've met him, and just have used that for my business and tried to be as nice as I possibly can. And the rest has just been history, and here I am.
So tell me this: when you transitioned from the mortgage company, which you already knew a lot about real estate, but your assistant or your friend there was saying, "We can't just jump into this. We don't have any clients." So, like, what was the first thing that you remember that you guys started doing or planning to start a real estate business?
I think the first thing that we started doing was figuring out who our client was, who do we want our ideal client to be, what does that client do, what type of home do they want, what area do they want. I just didn't want to go into the business doing any type of deal. I wanted a certain income level with my client. I wanted a certain type of a client. Because I knew a lot of realtors at that point because of the mortgage business. And we call them ambulance chasers in our business too, where they just go after, I don't know if you've seen the thing like on social, they'll have, hey, I need a realtor. Does anybody know anybody? I don't do that call. Like people will attach my name to that and I go, oh, I'm a little booked right now. I can't do it. I knew who I wanted my client to be. So we spend a lot of our time researching and trying to find out how do we get that ideal client. And once we got that ideal client, how do we get their friends and their colleagues? So I kind of wanted to build my business more as a referral-based business, so I wouldn't have to do all the cold calling and the door knocking and the, hi, use me. I kind of wanted it to be more of a, hey, you should use Damon. You're going to have a great experience when you use Damon. So we kind of built my business around that about, and it's worked out great. Most of my 9.9 of my clients are referral-based. I haven't did a cold call in at least 5 years.
Wow.
Okay. Now on that point, Damon, how much, see, I'm terrible at planning.
That's okay.
Okay. So like I get an idea in my head, right? And I just go for it. And what I've learned over the years to kind of make an addition to what you're saying is I'm really, really good at what I do. But that's kind of full steam ahead. And so I've had to hire people to do the planning. I've had to hire people to do the finances and the paperwork because, I'm the guy that'll wake up at 3 a.m. and leave the house, to go to the shop or something. So how much planning did you do or finding that right person to work with you? And how many years ago was that?
Oh, goodness. My first guy, we were just out of necessity. It was like, I didn't know what I wanted from him. He didn't know what he wanted from me. I knew I could pay him. And it was just, his name is JV, and I give him a ton of credit because he introduced me to the Gary video. So I was like, which has been the core of my business. So we kind of borrowed a lot from the mortgage company because they were a great success. And we were like, ooh, let's borrow this from them and that and this policy from them and this, how do you reach clients and how do you do this and how do you do that? So a lot of it was trial and error. A lot of it was Google. I looked at people in my immediate area because real estate is like a thing here. Of how they were doing their business, what did I like about it, what I kind of didn't like about it, because a lot of the realtors here have these huge teams. I don't knock it, but I didn't want a huge team. I wanted it to be myself, my person, and maybe an agent or two under me. And I've had a small thing where I don't have any agents under me right now, just because I kind of got sick of it a little bit. So the planning, I'm a horrible planner too. I plan out of necessity.
Okay.
I plan out of, hey, if I spend all week doing social media and don't have any clients, what am I going to eat next month? So
right.
I'm a dreamer. Like I keep a notebook by my bed. Some of my craziest video ideas have come to me overnight. And my guy Tripp now will look at me and be like, I guess we can do that. Like I look to him a lot. His role has expanded where he was just supposed to do my videos and he's turned into my person. And like for the planning and stuff, I feel like this, as long as I can afford it, I'm going to go out and do it. I try not to overshoot my budget. I'm with you. I'm terrible at numbers. I have my accountant and my tax person who does all that. She'll tell me, hey, you need some more money, or hey, you're okay, or whatever. Like I suck at computers. I mean, when I say I'm terrible at computers, I will look at Tripp and be like, what does that button do? Or you see,
Right.
when you were starting to record, I know what I'm good at.
Yeah,
I'm good
yeah.
at people.
Yeah.
I'm great at social media, and I'm great at selling houses.
Yeah.
The numbers, the tech part of it, I sit here on my hands like somebody's gonna plug this in for me. I know it. I'm just gonna sit here and smile and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm terrible at the plan. The planning, oh God, the planning and paperwork part of this job. Oh, I'm awful at it.
So you mentioned listening to Gary. I about December of 2019, I started buying baseball cards. But
Nice.
years and years ago, I had put my brother in charge of my finances.
Okay.
Right? So I went to my brother and a business partner, said, "Hey, I want to do this thing Gary's recommending. It really makes me happy. I'm excited about it, and I just kind of want to do it as a side hobby."
Right.
You know? So last week, my brother walks in the shop and he goes, "Hey, Ben, we need to talk." And he had that tone. You know that tone.
Oh, yes.
You know, and I went, "Oh, no, what's going on?" And he said, "You overspent your budget by $1,000 on baseball cards." And I went, "I did what? Who? When? What?" And he said, I'm going to need you to stop buying baseball cards for a little while."
You're like, but no, they're a great investment. No.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm just learning. I'm only 6
Right?
months in. I'm just getting my feet wet. Like, you can't. And he's like, "Ben, we talked about a budget and you can do it. You keep going. But you can't overspend by $1,000 or we're not going to be able to pay the mortgage."
Right.
You know? So that it sounds like Tripp does that for you and your accountant. What were you going to ask, Megan?
So I was gonna jump into a new point. I'm really curious. What is your favorite part about selling houses? Because that's something that's so interesting to me, is these people who are in the fields that you don't typically think about. What is it that made you interested in realty and things like that?
Probably when I opened that front door to see, I'm naturally nosy about people's homes. to see how people live in comparison to your own house.
Yeah.
How your like, not really your neighbor, but the person down the street lives and what they think is normal. I could tell you stories that would make your hair stand on end
My
about
goodness.
don't eat from that house. Like, no. So just a natural curiosity. And then from the teaching background, wanting to teach people how to do it, I really was a victim of the housing bubble when it burst.
Sure.
I made decent money as a teacher, and I got pre-approved for my first home, and my parents were excited, and I didn't know what I was signing. I kind of knew how much the payment was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I ended up having 2 mortgages into one, and instead of paying, I was paying double.
Wow.
So I'm thinking I'm paying one amount, and then the second mortgage coupon book came, and I was like, "Oh no, what's that?" And they were like, "Well, no, this is how much your mortgage really is." So when the bubble burst, I did a short sale on my house, and this is before the banks were helping. This was like, "Oh, you're poor, you lost your house, good luck." So I did a short sale on my house, had to like rebuild my credit. My realtor at the time just says, "Oh, you're approved." There was like no explanation of anything. It was like, "Oh, you're approved. Just how much the payment is going to be." At closing, nobody explained anything to me. I didn't even know what to even ask. So I took all of that. I says, one day I'm going to sell houses, and I'm not going to let what happened to me happen to any of my clients or anybody that I know.
Okay.
I'm going to put out informational videos. I'm going to put out tips. I'm going to put out tricks. I'm going to put out videos sometimes that tell people, you should wait. You shouldn't buy a house. And I tell my clients that now. Sometimes people will come, and they've been trained like this, to come with that last $1,000 in their bank account. To go, okay, now I'm going to buy it. And I tell people, what are you going to do next month when the bills come due? I don't want you to be house poor.
Yeah.
So I've turned down business before, and I don't think when your finances are just enough to get it. Yeah. I tell people, you don't want to buy and you just have just enough, because you need to go to the grocery store. You need to have a car. You need to be able to go on vacation. You need to be able to buy furniture. You need to be able to live at least 6 months out without taking your last cent and getting this house. So I try to be that realtor. because it happened to me. Nobody asked me how much money I had in the bank or was I going to be okay. They just said, here, sign this. Here's some keys, and here you go. I mean, I was excited until I got those 2 mortgage payments in the mail every month. I was like, oh no, this isn't going to work.
Now, I grew up, my parents renting. So you know, when I was a kid, renting was a normal thing, and really none of my friends, maybe only 30% of my friends, their parents owned their own home. You know, we were in rental communities or rental, you know, so we always just knew the landlord banging on the door, you know, wanting the money, and then not fixing anything. You know.
Right.
So yeah. So when it came time for me to buy my first house, I was completely out of my league. Like I didn't even come from a background. I had actually only, I guess it was about 8 or 9 years ago, helped my parents buy their first home. So what was your background? Did your parents own their own home?
This is a funny story. We rented and owned.
Okay.
So all of my friends, it was weird story. I didn't know what an apartment really was because I went to school I went to a neighborhood school, and all my friends, we all had houses.
Yeah.
So I didn't, and this is sad, we were kids. It was a neighborhood, like 2 neighborhoods away from us, and those kids lived in apartments. Yeah. And we thought they were trash. I'm just being honest. We were like, oh, y'all don't have a backyard. I had the biggest backyard in our neighborhood growing up. So I thought we were rich, but we really weren't. So just as a kid, I didn't know what an apartment was. I remember I thought an apartment was like a big, tall building. And there's a lot of people that live there, and I want to be there because I wanted my backyard. I love to play outside. Not thinking that they have an apartment, they can still play outside. It just is where it's not a difference. So I grew up owning. I didn't get an apartment. My first apartment was in college, and I just knew I was going to own a home. I knew I was like, because my mom was. We were raised to go to college, work. Now the entrepreneurship thing is still new for me. I was raised to go to college. You get a job, you try to make management, and you stay there until you die. Right. So I thought I was going to be a teacher and be a principal and just go off into the great yonder, and that was it. I had no plan B. I was like, I don't know. I went to school. I went to get my master's in education. So I was all vested in, like, this is going to be it. This is the thing. I had no clue what unemployment was. I was very sheltered. Yeah. I had no clue. I had been getting a check. I worked as a teenager, so I didn't know what it was like not to get a check or not to go ask your mom and dad for something if you really needed it. So the being laid off thing for me, I felt defeated. I didn't know. I was like, I'm in my 30s. What do I do now? Okay. So I was really like, I got my house late. I got my house about like 30. So I had a couple apartments before then. So to get the home and then lose it, I was like, oh no. I was really down on myself and depressed. And then a month later, everybody lost their house. So I felt a little better. I was like, oh, I'm not the only one. Everybody's lost their house. Yeah.
Now, y'all are talking about the 2008 economic crash, right?
Yes.
I was 8 years old, so I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure we're all on the same page and we're all talking about the same thing.
But what's interesting about that, Damon, is that my career changed then too.
Okay.
Even here in Texas, I had worked with my dad for a decade in one industry, and it was connected to the housing industry. So that was when I had to leave that business, and I spent half a day working at Starbucks. And half a day painting houses, where with one of the best painting crews in the area, but they were all Hispanic. I was the only English speaker. Right. So they were out working me, and I was just another guy. You know? But that led me to start a coffee shop, which 5 years later led me to start a tattoo shop, which 5 years later, that was kind of a turning point for me, that low.
Yeah, that low. Oh, And it's so funny. Tripp and I were talking about that low. We're always together almost every day about that low. And we were saying, he brought it up like people were panicked about COVID. And I was like, I don't give a damn. Because now I knew better. That low taught me to have the 6 month savings that everybody talks about. And I was like, how the hell do you get that?
Right.
But I was like, all right, so I just worked and didn't buy anything. So that low really taught me because, like I said, I had nothing. I was check to check because I knew I was getting another check in 2 weeks. So I didn't care, that I spent the whole check going to Mexico or Florida for the week or whatever, because I knew I was getting another paycheck, because nothing is ever going to happen in education, right? We're never getting laid off. I'm in the union. I'm never going to get laid off. We're protected. Here we go. Yeah. So that low, people still ask, people's like, oh, Damon, you work so hard and you put out so much content. I'm like, honey, if you only knew what it's like not to have. It scares the bejesus out of you not to have. I said, I never want to be that person again where I'm totally dependent on real estate or I'm totally dependent on social media. I want to have a couple of more streams of income just so I work to live instead of living to work. Yeah. People think I'm gonna tell you a secret about me. A lot of people don't know. I'm really lazy. Yeah. But I'm deep down, I'm a very I work hard so I can have a couple of days off during the week. People are like, oh, you're putting out a lot of stuff. I'm like, honey, if you only knew, I'm going to stay up all day today so I can sleep in tomorrow. Yeah. I try to bust my hump a few days out the week. I call it the sacrifice. I'm like, oh, I'll sacrifice Monday and Tuesday because I'm going to sleep in on Wednesday. Yeah. So I tell people, never be dependent on that 9 to 5. Always have something else going on. Just because even with COVID and whatever, and the economy and the government or whatever, I don't give a damn who's in charge. You be in charge of what check and what stream and how happy you are about what you're doing, because you can make all the money in the world. If you're miserable, you're miserable. So you try to find something that brings a little bit of joy to your life. And even if you have to work the office 9 to 5, after that 5, find something that you want to do. It doesn't have to necessarily be a job. And if you like collecting baseball cards, I'm a comic book person. If you like comic books, if you like sci-fi, if you like whatever, try to find something that you want to do, because these jobs will kill you.
Yeah, for sure. I find that too. I'm the media producer for for PaynePoints, specifically in their podcast department. But I'm a tarot reader. I read tarot cards. I'm a psychic medium, and that is something that I tell so many of my clients, because I'll see in their cards, I'll see in their face, they're low energy. They're not happy. They're like, I'm not happy with my job, and I've always been happy, and I don't understand. And I'm like, it's not your job. It's the fact that your job is all you have. Mm-hmm. You don't have a hobby. You're not going to the gym. You're not watching any TV shows. You're not getting invested in anything. That is so bad for your psyche when you just have your job and then you go home and you scroll on Facebook for 4 hours and then you go to sleep and the cycle repeats. Yep. So I totally hear you, and I'm so glad that you're encouraging people to do that. Because hearing it from several people will often make others go, oh, a lot of people are saying this. I should maybe take this into account. But my next question is going to be, what has been the biggest tool in running your business, either in this past year or throughout your whole career as a realtor? What's been the biggest tool for you to use? Has it been social media? Has it been something else?
It's been social media. Social has done so much for my career, where it's like I can walk into a room of realtors now and they're like, oh shit, Damon's here. Yeah. Or it'll be like, the first time I knew, this guy stopped me. He's like, are you DJ Realty? And I was like, I'm being arrested for something. I was at a McDonald's parking lot and I was like, yes, I am. And he's finna kill me. Who is this? Right. And he was like, oh, I listened to your show and I love your stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's really weird because social here, Michigan is small. Sure. Detroit seems huge, but it's really not. Mm-hmm. I'm respected here. I'm not liked.
Okay.
If my business, if my audience who was buying homes was my Twitter audience, I would be a billionaire. The people I can put out a video on Facebook, which is more my local people here. It'll do 100 views, whatever. I'll pop that puppy on Twitter, and people are like, "Oh my God, Damon, I love it. They will not." And I wasted time thinking about, why don't they like me here? Why don't they like me here? And I wasted about a year of trying to please people here. And I was like, fuck that. Yeah. I'm just getting ready to put my stuff out. So social has really helped my self-confidence, I do the video that I want to do now. I don't do the video that I think is going to explode business-wise or whatever, because I saw myself pigeonholing myself with real estate. I was like, if you just want to sell these houses till you're 80 years old, you just keep doing this. So social for me, they could take away mailers, assistants, not you, Trip. They could take away everything. As long as that social media pops up for me, So COVID for me has been great.
Sure.
I've been able to not go to birthday parties and weddings and dinners. And because a lot of my time, I get invited to a lot of things from my clients. Their kids' parties, the dinners, the lunches, the coffees, the drinks. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to go nothing else. So now I can say, oh no, I had a COVID scare, I can't come. Or, oh no, I don't want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So social for me has been everything. And it's funny to see now that people are gravitating towards it more because of what's going on. Because I try not to judge, but I look at people's stuff and I go, oh God, this is awful. Like, what have you been doing? Because it's so funny that I thought that the other realtors would have caught me by now on social. Like they would put out, better quality stuff or, they still don't do it. And I'm just as happy as I can be. Even in the realtors that I really know, they'll ask me stuff. And sometimes I'll tell them like, hey, you should do this. People still don't use social media for business. And it just boggles my mind, that they don't, because it gives me such a reach that I would have never had if I just was local. I would have never gotten that reach just doing what I used to do for real estate. When I abandoned all my other the texting people, the sending out mailers or whatever, just to totally focus on social, my career took off like a rocket.
Now, how you say, social is the biggest tool. How often or how much time do you have to spend answering questions from people that are not in your circle, meaning they'll never be a client?
Oh, I love it because the questions turn into content. When somebody emails me a question, I'll scratch their name out or have a triple edit it out. I use questions as content. I've used questions as I did a video, The 5 Lies About Real Estate. Yeah. And I caught so much heat for that video. People always think that there's like this foreclosure plan or this first-time homebuyer program that their cousin told them about. I'm like, honey, that's a lie. There's not. They charge you for everything. So I look at everybody as a social media client first. And then if it happens, it's a real estate client. Like I tell people, I would rather you share my video out than like it and use me as your real estate agent. I go for the broad instead of the narrow sometimes. Like I'll look at my bank account and be like, oh God, I need to focus narrow this month. Yeah. But I like just doing the video, content. The questions keep me sharp too, because people ask the same questions, they just ask it a different way. But everybody kind of has the same questions nationwide. They'll be like, well, Damon, what's this? What do you think about that? Even the investors, they all ask the same questions. People really want to know, is something that they heard true, or how does this really work? And I tell them, if it's too good to be true, it is. You have to pay. There are no free rides in real estate. Everything is going to cost you about 10 grand. That house is going to cost you 10 grand, a couple grand up front, a couple grand in the middle, and a couple grand to close. So plan on having $10,000 throughout the transaction. They look at me like, what? They said it was free. I go, honey, it's free until you start signing that paper at the closing table. They're going to want their money. So I love the questions. The questions are content. They keep me sharp. And it also lets me know the direction that my content needs to go. Because if I'm too high over their head, we call it mortgagees. If I'm talking too high, I need to bring it down, to everybody's level to stop using the initials and to stop using the acronyms or whatever. Just give it to them like they're a 5-year-old.
I wish someone had told me when I was, Megan's age, that it was okay, or I wish I had known, I guess, that it was okay to save money in an envelope. See, I grew up, I cannot put money in a savings account. If I put money in a savings account, I will spend it. If I put money in a checking account, I will spend it. But the thing is, if I have it physically in my hand, I will save and save and save. And I thought that was bad.
No, I'm kind of the same way. And I don't know if it's a culture thing sometimes with Black people. Yes, I'm Black. And it's funny, I was always raised, my grandparents, great-great-grandparents, don't put all your money in the bank, because some of them survived the great bank crash, the reset. They're like, So I'm the same way. I'll have the envelope here. I'll hide money for myself there.
Right.
I only put enough money in the bank to function.
Yeah.
I only put enough money in there if I'm going to be swiping my card or to buying something. I'm the person at the store who you see paying cash. That's me. I'm like, how much is that?
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I can't pay it cash, I don't need it.
Right.
I still drive a used car.
Yeah.
Out of all the realtors that I know, I probably have the oldest car. They all have the big Cadillac trucks and the big Mercedes trucks and whatever. I'm like, no. I'm like, no way. I am not. That's just not for me. I always feel like now that if I can't pay cash for it, I don't need it. I'm just like, no. So I'm the same way with the savings and the checking.
Yeah.
When I was at the bank, I was doing something about checking account, and she was like, "You're always here, but you never deposit anything, really." I was like, exactly. I was like, I keep enough in there to keep it open, and if I'm other than that, especially now with all this going on, I was like, "No, give me my money."
It's a strange thing too, though, because I wasn't able to say that out loud for so long, because all my friends I knew had 401ks, or they had savings accounts, or they had this or that, and I never seemed, every time I'd get it up to $1,000, I'd spend it, or maybe another child would be born, or the car would break down, or something would happen.
Something happens,
and I was never able to really break through until I started going, hey, I'm gonna just put a little cash in an envelope. I'm gonna take my tips from my job every day, and I'm gonna put it in an envelope, and I'm gonna hide that envelope under my mattress or in the wall, and I didn't really tell anybody, because I was kind of embarrassed. I thought maybe I was doing something wrong, but what I've learned is, and it made me think, you were talking about how your social media people, when they ask questions, it tells you how to go. I wonder how many other people there are like me who have never been able to save the professional way.
Yes.
But they need to know that it's okay to save it. You don't want to broadcast. I don't want somebody breaking into my house and looking under my mattress.
Right.
but that it's okay to save differently depending on how your mind works.
And it's okay, because I look at the interest rate. You don't make any money at the bank until you cross the $200,000 threshold. It's like, that's not enough. If you just have, the regular, let's say you got $5,000 in your checking or savings account, it doesn't. Let's say you get a little bit of interest off of it. Well, you got that maintenance fee on it every month. So it's not like I look at people, a lot of my clients, sometimes I have to look, I see their account and I'm like, oh my God. But it's like the interest on it is nothing. It's just you're making the banks rich by having tons of money in there. They're not giving us anything for having $200,000 in our checking account. You're not getting anything for having it there. It's just, you're better off buying the baseball cards, investing it in the stock market, whatever you want to do it, because you can't take it with you, and it's just sitting there. And your kids aren't. Let's say you drop dead right now. Mm-hmm. She's gonna be like, "I'm taking it out that damn bank. Give me some money." Nobody's gonna be like, "Oh, let's leave it in the bank and let it sit there." I'm like, whatever. So sometimes the money in the bank is just, I don't know. It makes people feel better, but
it gets back to something. Another thought you said earlier that keeps kind of running around in my head is that idea that things are easy. That the idea that there's a free ride, or that there's a mortgage deal that's there for you, or something like that. I started the coffee shop in 2010 with another business partner. I didn't buy it until 2013. I bought him out. I'm just now starting to see the benefits. And all my friends are going, "Oh, that passive income must be nice." The last decade of trading my soul for this business was not passive.
Right?
I worked hard every day.
It's a grind. People think that I'm so rich. I'm like, I had this conversation with another, my sister who owns a restaurant, and we always say, "I'm calling in tomorrow." She, like, I'm calling in. It's like, we can't. People think that, oh, the deals just come if I don't do anything, and I'm like, honey, we can't call in. You can't. Take a day off. You can't. My mind is always on go mode, so it's not like, I look at people like, it's expensive to have your own business. Every envelope that comes through my mail has my name on it. Mm-hmm. We have to pay to have our license as realtors. Mm-hmm. I have to pay my broker. So it's not like this is cheap. Office supplies we have to pay for. Mm-hmm. You have to pay for everything. And people always go, "Oh, you get to write that off." No, you don't get to write all that off. I'm like, you get 5 cents on the dollar that you spent. So it's like, the rewards are there, but I tell people, like you say, people are like, "Oh, all this passive income." I look at people like, huh?
There's no I work every day, 24 hours a day.
I work harder now than I did when I worked at corporate America.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because it's yours. It's not somebody else's. This is your passion. This is what you love to do, and it makes sense that you work harder. You work harder when you're doing something that you love, because you care about it. So as we move a little bit closer towards wrapping the episode up, I've got a couple more questions for you.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm a babbler. I like to talk.
No, and we love for you to talk because it gives me more content, obviously. So one of my first questions as we wrap up is going to be, what has been one of your biggest obstacles since starting your business?
Oh boy.
Yourself?
Probably myself. The I shouldn't say the worry. Ooh, can I do this? Did I make a mistake?
I hear you.
The overthinking sometimes. Mm-hmm. I'm a Libra, and my scale has to be balanced.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm a huge zodiac person. I'm
me
like,
too.
ooh, here we go. It's certain signs that I can't. My mom was a Gemini and my dad was a Libra, so we kind of outnumbered her.
Yeah.
But there's some signs and situations that Libras will back down from. If I feel like you're more dominant than me, I'll be like, I'll just wait. Mm-hmm. So I tend to overthink a lot.
Okay.
Even with my content, sometimes I'll look at a picture or a video and go, I'm learning now just to put it out. Mm-hmm. So probably my biggest obstacle in business, the real estate side of it, I just turn on my charm. I call it the razzle dazzle.
Yeah.
I turn on that razzle dazzle. But for business wise, my biggest obstacle probably is the overthinking.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I totally hear that. I relate to that a lot. What is your biggest achievement since starting your business?
Oh God, being friends with Gary Vee.
Oh, I love it. We love Gary around here.
The knowing that if I really need him, I can just text or email and I'm gonna get a response right back. Just finding him as my person, because there's a lot of real estate coaches and supposed to be gurus and whatever. I knew when I first saw him, I said, that's my person.
I love it.
Being on the show with him a couple times, that I was like, oh, it'll happen in 10 years. It'll happen. When I got the call that, no, he wants you on Tea with Gary V this day, I was like, oh, here we go. So my biggest compliment is the Gary stuff. I
love that. He's such a great person, and I think Dad and I can both agree wholeheartedly with everything that you're saying. Gary is just a very genuine, down-to-earth person, and sometimes the people that we're surrounded with, they'll be like, can y'all ever shut up about this guy? And it's because he's genuine and so kind.
I worship at the Church of Gary too. I'm sure my friends are like, Damon, will you shut up? Like, oh my God. But I told him, I cried when I first met him.
Yeah.
He was quick story, I'll rush it.
No, it's fine.
He was at a football game here. His assistant then was like, are you going to be at the football game? Of course I'm at this game. I knew Gary was going to be. The Jets were here playing. So he was like, Gary wants to meet you at halftime. What?
That's amazing.
So I went over there and the security guard was like, who's here? Because people are like crowding over here. I was like, it's Gary V. He was like, who? I was like, I can't explain it. And I'm never really scared or like starstruck. I went down the stairs and I was like, my legs start working, and his brother's like, no, Damon, come on down. And so we talked, we took the picture, and he was like, will you come to New York for this wine tasting? They was doing a charity preview. So I went to New York, but that's a whole nother story for the next time I'm on. But I walked back up the stairs, the tears. You get a vibe around him in person. It was just the tears came out of nowhere. I knew my career. I was like, this is it. This is it. So the Gary, since the podcast plus behind me, just he's everything for me.
Can we, Damon? I think what we should do is sometime this year. I have a feeling we're all going to be very busy this year, but we should really get a bunch of people together and tell Gary V stories.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
I love it.
Wouldn't that be like an amazing podcast?
We can get Omar. We can get Laura.
There's so many people we've met from all over the world that we didn't know first, but now we know them because we know them.
It's the Gary V Network.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's a true story.
Yep, I got my 2 happiness hoodies. One I wear, one I don't.
Right.
I have, I think, every shoe in triplicate. It's the thing. But that would be a great show. I've got sign me up.
You've got more of the stuff. People thought I was crazy, but I tattooed his signature on my arm.
Oh,
I'm a tattoo artist, and I went like, look, I do a lot of things. I do a lot of businesses, but first and foremost, I'm a tattoo artist. And I just got to one night, and I was like, I got to have the Gary V signature on me. Like, this is just, it's too iconic. It's too much a part of my life. But because it's kindness and it's goodness.
Yes.
And it's tell the truth. And it's equality. It is so rare, he's so
he's a unicorn.
Consistent. He's so consistent.
Such an inspiration.
Such an inspiration. He's a unicorn among people. He's a great human.
So I've got one last big question before we start to wrap up, and that is, what advice would you give to people who want to go into realty?
Oh boy, I would tell them your friends and family are not going to send you business. Do not bank on like I did. I was like, I have on my dad's side, no lie, at last count, 60 cousins. and I don't mean distant cousins. I mean,
Wow.
I have 13 aunts and uncles on my dad's side alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm related to half the city. So
I'm sure it sounds like it.
in my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to be so busy. By the time I really need a real client, I'll be financially set.
Yeah.
Not one of those family members has bought a house with me.
Wow.
So I would tell people your client isn't who you think it's going to be. To find out what type of real estate agent you want to be, research your area, research how much the homes are, how much it costs to buy these homes, because every deal is different. I would tell them do a lot of research, and I don't mean I don't mean do so much research where you never get started. But I would for sure tell them to try to find out who you want your client, your ideal client to be. Is it a family? Is it a single mom? Is it a college student looking to transition after they get their first real job? Try to figure out who your client is and how much house they can afford or how much house they want. To really research, is this the career for you? Because if you don't sell, you don't get paid. I would tell them to have some savings to 6 months. Here we go. Have some savings.
Right.
Because this profession is expensive, but it's not. It can be expensive. The more you make, the more you spend on it. If that makes any sense. It's like the more homes I sell now, I have to do a little more advertising, a little more buying of equipment, a little more of this and that. But I would tell anybody getting started, just do some research, have a little bit of savings, and just start. I think I started too quick. I didn't know. I knew I was either going to walk out of that job or jump out the window. So I was like, I got to just go now. I did the part-time real estate thing at first, and I was like, oh, this is miserable. I got to leave. And I went and talked to the president of the company, and he was like, Damon, yeah, it's time. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to burn any bridges. But I also knew today is the day. Like, I got to go today. I can't give you 2 weeks. Today, I got to go today. Yeah.
I hear that. I lied. That wasn't our last question.
No, I love questions. Are you kidding me? No, this is fine.
So I'd really like to ask, what does the future look like for you? Like, are you pursuing anything different? Are you okay, great. I see you nodding. Is your focus still going to be realty? What does the future look like, and what can people expect from you in 2021 onward?
The future has changed for me. I thought my original goal was to get my broker's license, open up my own shop, go from there and just have agents and just retire. Now, since my social media like skyrocketed, I was like, I'm going to help other people with their social media and have my own production studio. And yeah, Trip and I we kind of partnered. He doesn't know it yet, but
Love it.
He'll find out after the episode.
He'll find out after. So my goal now is the Damon Johnson Studio, where I'm just, doing podcasts for people, producing shows for people, doing more social media for people. It's more of, I'm a multimedia company with a real estate division. I don't think I'll totally leave real estate 100%, but I don't see me doing it how I'm doing it now. No, lately I've been with a few large clients for real estate, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is enough. I don't, I'm leaning more towards the production end of social. Yeah, for sure. This year,
there's so many people that need help with that. We interviewed Omar Prestwich from from K-Swiss.
Yeah.
And literally towards the end of the conversation, I was like, so can I hire you to come here? And I'm getting to the end of this conversation, and I'm going, so Damon, will you and Trip fly to Texas? Like, can y'all
For sure. Trip is looking like what? He can't hear us. Of course. We got offered to come to Hawaii to work with, I don't know if you know MKK Rob Stevenson off Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's another agent. He was like, I want you to come work on my real estate stuff, but I'll fly you and trip to Hawaii. And we're like, all right, great.
So the Damon Johnson tour is coming.
The Damon Johnson tour is coming. People have offered a lot of money, and I was like, oh, I hope I can live up to this. Like, oh, like at first I was like, oh, I'll just do a little bit, but they're like, there's such a need for people that need help with social that you kind of can name your own price and what you want to do for them and this and that. And Trip reels me back in. He goes, we're not doing that. You're just doing this. I'll be like, oh, you need this and you need that. And he's like, no, Damon. You are here to do this. You are not producing their whole show. You are here for this. Yeah. So yeah, the future, I know. I've been doing more Twitch stuff. I've been doing
TikTok.
Yeah. Oh, I love TikTok. So I know I'm using real estate like I used my mortgage job. Real estate pays for me to do the social media stuff, to do the social media management stuff. It lets me have that cushion in case a client doesn't pay that month. It lets me use all the creative stuff that I want to do, because I can walk into a business and I go, oh, you need to do this, that, and that. Because I can't do it for my business because I have to, get the client. Right. But for your business, you're selling cakes, and I think you should be doing this. So yeah, the future is really social media management for me.
I love it. We're so glad to hear that. Well, where can everyone find you if they want to hire you to buy a house or to run their social media, or just tell us where everybody can find you.
I am DJ Realty Solutions on all social media. I have a Damon Johnson page on Facebook and LinkedIn, because LinkedIn didn't like DJ Realty Solutions. I don't know why. But everywhere else, I'm DJ Realty Solutions on all social media. My email is damonjohnson100@gmail.com. I always answer all my emails back. I'm like I give myself a 2-3 hour SLA. I took that from the mortgage company. That helps a lot. People, I didn't know this. People don't respond to emails in the same day. I'm like, well, what? Oh, they don't. And I didn't know that. I thought from corporate America, you only had like 2 to 3 hours to respond to people. Yeah. No.
So creatives will get back to you 72 hours.
Yeah.
Later, maybe.
So I'm trying to line up this one podcast guest now, and I'm like, hello.
Where are you?
Where are you? So yeah, even with my social media, I feel bad if I don't respond to people the same couple hours or at least the same day.
Yeah.
So people are always like, oh, you responded to me. I was like, well, who else was gonna respond to you? It's me. I do all my own responses, and if you see me posting or responding, it's me. It's not Trip. It's me.
I love it. Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on our program. It means a lot. We've been following you for a long time, and it was really great to have you on and to talk to you and hear about your experiences. I feel like I've learned a lot today.
Yeah, it's such an honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, I admire you so much. Every time I see your content on social, what you and Trip are doing, I just go, man, I want to be Damon and Trip one day.
It's okay. It's funny because when people say that, we look at each other like, I didn't like that piece of content, but they loved it. we look at when people go, "Oh my God, your stuff," and we look like, "Who, my stuff?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." But
absolutely.
No, I just want to say thank you to be saying thank you. It really, like, when you're creating it, you don't see it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's like you see it, but you just hope that it does something. But when people say, "Oh, I love you," and Trip stuff, we always look like, "Oh, well, I guess that one was a hit, so we'll do another one." But no, we really appreciate it. We really bust our hump on this stuff. We really do. He hangs up on me sometimes, and
just to give you guys a point of encouragement, I literally get to the end of the day where I've checked in with the coffee shop, I've worked in the tattoo shop, I've worked for PaynePoints, helping other small businesses, but also programming problems that come up. and I'm not computer savvy, but I help them in a different way. But I get to the end of the night, and maybe it's 11:30 at night, and I'm standing out in the street, just kind of chilling, taking it easy. And I listen. I'll pull up Gary V. I pull up Omar, see what he's doing. I pull up my kids, and then I pull up Wild Hood Clothing. I pull up K-Swiss, and I pull up DJ Realty.
Oh, thank you.
And I check what Trip's doing. Like, I literally just click over and go, hey, what are my guys up to in the world? Because you guys may think creating it that it's not having an impact, but the authenticity, the realness is there.
Thank you.
And I want to connect with that every day. I don't want to be looking at those fake accounts. I don't want to be looking at, I don't care who bought the new car. I care what Damon's doing. I care what Tripp's doing. I care what Omar's doing, because it's real. It matters.
Yeah. Again,
thank
great
you
honor
so
to have you on the
much.
podcast. We hope that everyone enjoyed this episode, even though our normal hosts were not with us. And we hope that everyone has a great week. If you'd like to listen to more of our content or check out our podcast, or even be a guest on the podcast, go to www.PaynePoints.com or message me, Slowpoke Megan, on Instagram, and we'll work something out. Once again, thank you so much for being on our program, and we're going to definitely have to have you back.
Oh, thank you. I'll be happy to have you. I'll be happy to have you guys on mine. I'll be happy to be back anytime. Just let me know, for sure.
Excellent.
Thanks, Damon.
Do you have a story to tell? We want to hear it. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast and share your story, contact us on our website at PaynePoints.com or any of the social media linked on our website. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. We'd appreciate a review, a like, or a comment to let us know what you think. You can find all of our podcasts linked on our website under the podcast tab. Once again, thanks for joining us, and we want to wish everybody a wonderful day.